Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good evening and welcome to this first of a series of talks on the Panchadasi. It says a welcome talk, so I've already welcomed you. Alright, now we can get down to business. Our whole life, each one of us, all of us, in fact everybody in the whole world, all throughout history, is a quest for peace, for satisfaction, for joy, for happiness, and concurrently for overcoming suffering. That's all that we have been doing basically. You'll say, no, I have been busy studying and my career and maybe raising a family, but all of that you did for what? In a quest for happiness, in a quest for satisfaction. We are all the time trying to overcome unhappiness and reach for the ultimate happiness. Something lasting, some peace, some profound peace or satisfaction which is lasting. And in that pursuit, we have been spending our lives. What do we pursue in our quest for happiness? Some seek it in pleasure, in various kinds of pleasure, eating, drinking, making merry. It could be anything from something gross like eating a cookie to something elevated, like listening to beautiful music. That's still pleasure. In various kinds of pleasure, especially sensory pleasure, one seeks happiness. When we can seek happiness in the means to pleasure, for example, wealth and power and learning, often they start off as being means to pleasure. You can buy the things that you want, pay for the things that you need. But often these things like money or power, they become ends in themselves. They become sources where we seek happiness. Richer that I am, I'll be happier. More powerful, I'll be happier. More respected in society, I want the respect of my peers, of others, I'll be happier. That's the idea at least. So we seek happiness there. And going further ahead, we seek happiness in a wider sphere, doing things for others, in being good, in being moral, in social causes, in something beyond our little self. So in these various ways, in Sanskrit the terms for these are kama, artha, dharma. Kama means pleasure in the five senses, from the most unregenerate to the most elevated, sophisticated kind of pleasure. Houston Smith, when he's introducing Hinduism in his book, Religions of the World, earlier it was called Religions of Man, but now it is more politically correct, gender correct. So now it's called Religions of the World. He passed away a few months ago, Houston Smith. So he says that even after you have appreciated Bach and Mozart and Beethoven, even after the greatest cultural creations of humanity, after that still your mind asks, is this all? Now I'm going to die and that's it? It is wonderful, but that's all. What was the meaning of this whole game of life? So we search for pleasure and happiness in these ways. And at one point, we recruit God in our efforts. So we have conveniences, like a car or a washing machine or a phone. And to the list of conveniences, we add one more, religion. Maybe it's fashionable to be religious, no longer, not these days, but at one time it was. Maybe it's politically correct to be religious. Maybe it's a thing done in polite society to be religious, to go to the temple and do a puja, or go to church on Sunday. And so God is recruited in our efforts to be happy. But here I want to make a distinction between conventional religion and the higher spirituality. This distinction must be made to understand what we are about here, what we are doing here. Conventional religion is when I'm still all about the word. I'm trying to get happiness I'm trying to get peace, I'm trying to overcome suffering in the world. I think this is what will make me happy. Wealthy and healthy and prosperous and peaceful and a good family life and relationships. This is what's going to make me happy. And maybe I can continue this after death also. A post-mortem kind of nice life called heaven, where I will meet my near and dear ones, and under the benevolent eyes of God, I will continue this life in a better way. So this is what I am seeking for, and God becomes an aid to help me in doing this. So God is a help for a better life. Money helps me to get better life, power helps me to get better life, relationships helps me to get better life, I think. And so God does too. The sign of this kind of religion is, supposing God does not. You come across people, God does not fulfill the promise which religion initially seemed to have. And then what happens? I prayed and prayed and prayed and nothing worked, and so I don't believe in God anymore. You come across such people. God is fired, laid off, didn't perform. In the next performance review, God didn't perform. He promised so many things and didn't work out. Why is he fired? Why do I stop believing in God? Because I did not believe in God for God's sake. I believed in God for the Word's sake. From the Word, I ask for the Word. And when I go to religion and to God, I ask for the Word. Again back to the Word. That's what I'm asking for. So that's the conventional kind of religion, and most of religion is like that. Most people who are religious are like that. Maybe we began our religious quest that way. Most of the people, the huge queues you find in the temples, not only in India, all the temples here, the mass attendances in church or other religious organizations. Out of those people, 80%, 90%, they are not there for enlightenment. They are not there to become the next Buddha. They are there because they want a nice life and a little peace of mind. Even when you go to practice yoga, people go to the yoga studio to practice yoga. They are not there to get samadhi or enlightenment, not at all. In fact, they would rather not have those things. But what they want is a flexible body which stays young, yoga and gluten-free and things like that. And so, again, the yoga is being practiced for the sake of the world, not for the sake of enlightenment. Right? So, this is conventional religion, and most people who are religious, whether in India or here or anywhere else in the world, whether today or in centuries past or in centuries to come, most people who practice religion will be doing it for this sake. But we are not here for that. There is another kind of religion, which I call spirituality. I'm making a distinction between spirituality and religion. When not God for my life, but my life for God. When I begin to get a conviction that there is a spiritual reality called God worth seeking. There is something called enlightenment, nirvana, moksha, salvation, whatever. The highest goal promised by each religion. Such a thing exists, is worth having, and is worth having above everything else, and I want that. I want what the Buddha set out to seek. What turned Gautama Siddhartha into the Buddha. I want that. What Narendranath went out seeking to Ramakrishna. Sir, have you seen God? He went out asking different people. I want that. Let us be careful. We are not condemning the conventional religion. That's also very good. Krishna himself in the Gita says, there are 4 kinds of people who are religious. Chaturvidha bhajante mam. 4 kinds of people worship me. By the way, once in a while I'll be using Sanskrit, but don't worry about it. In Vedanta you keep hearing a little bit of Sanskrit all the time. It's nice to hear the sound of this ancient language. I'll translate everything, so we don't have to worry about that. 4 kinds of people worship me, and they're all good. One is those who are in distress, in trouble, suffering from pain, or I've got some disease, or somebody beloved, somebody close to me is suffering. and I see no other way but to pray to God. In distress, in fear, in anxiety, in terror. There's a saying that there are no atheists in the foxholes. And in a war, when you are faced with death, there are no atheists there. There's a saying that. There's a popular saying. There are no atheists in the foxholes where you hide during war. That's one kind, in distress. The other kind who worship God, who come to religion, is those who want things in the world. They're not in distress, no problem, but I want more. More wealth, more success, more achievements, or if nothing else, parking. Something. I want something. I'm praying for something. So a parking spot, yes. And that's the second kind of person. And the third kind of person is not in distress. It does not want anything worldly, but is an inquirer. Does God exist? Is it possible to find something beyond suffering? The Buddha, how did Siddhartha become the Buddha? There is suffering. Is there a way out of suffering? Is there a state achievable beyond suffering? Look at what we started with. All our life, our quest has been to overcome suffering and find happiness. Whatever you have done in life. Going to school, starting a family, earning money, writing a book, even coming to Vedanta class. All of that has been a quest for satisfaction, lasting peace and satisfaction, overcoming suffering. Same quest, but the Buddha did it in a much more philosophical and deep way. We seem to, without questioning, without examining it, we seem to think that keeping on doing the same things will somehow one day give us satisfaction. You see, money or relationships or success in the world, all of these things, all of us, you must have tasted to some extent, at some level. And it has not given us satisfaction till now. But we think it might, the next thing, a little bit of more money, or the next relationship, or the next job might give me that satisfaction which I was looking for. There's a definition of, they say that to keep on doing the same thing and to expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. The Buddha decided to do something different. Siddhartha decided to do something different. No. He saw it all. Power and luxury and luxuries and fame and everything. He was a prince. And he gave it all up to try something different. That's not working. How can you overcome suffering? Let's see. So different. And that's how he became the Buddha. So this third kind of person who comes to religion is an inquirer. Look at Vivekananda. Narendranath becomes Vivekananda. How does he become Vivekananda? He doesn't go around asking, how can I get more money, or how can I be more popular? No, he goes around asking, can I see God? Can you actually experience God? Sir, have you seen God? That's what brought him to Ramakrishna. And that's what turned Narendranath into Vivekananda. So that's the third kind of person who comes to religion. An inquirer, a seeker. I think most of us are there. That's why we are here today. And there's a fourth kind according to Krishna. In the Gita he says, there's a fourth kind of person who worships me, O Arjuna. Who's the fourth kind? The Jnani, the enlightened person. And that person, Krishna says, that person is the truly spiritual person. Because for that person, spirituality is real. Others are either seeking or they want something. Now Krishna says all of them are good. All of them are good. But the first two will be caught in samsara because they want samsara from God. The second one, the third one, the inquirer, is the one who will go on to enlightenment. And once enlightened, that person, does he give up religion and spirituality and God? No. Abides in that. So, there is this higher spirituality. Vedanta is that higher is that spirituality, the higher religion. It is our life as a quest for enlightenment. Whether you are a monk or a nun or not, that doesn't make a difference. That's not the point. The point is, what do you see yourself as? What do we see ourselves as? What's our primary purpose in life now? You may be working, you may be retired, you may be a monk, you may be a householder, whatever. That's just your external circumstance. that does not prevent anybody from being spiritual. Ramana Maharshi, living in the cave there, the archetype of enlightenment in the 20th century, you know, the peaceful sage in the cave. Somebody asked him, a lady, a housewife, asked him that, don't you have to become a monk to become enlightened? And he said, no. You can be a housewife and you can be in your kitchen, you can be cooking, and you can still be an enlightened person. Then she asked the question, then why are you sitting in a cave? And his answer was, Mother, it's your karma to be a housewife. It's my karma to be a hermit in a cave. But both of us have equal right to be enlightened. I love repeating this thing about Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhi. He writes that, who am I? Some people think I'm a politician. Others think I'm a freedom fighter. Others think that I'm a social reformer. And he was all of these. If you look at his life, he was all of these. But if you ask me, Mahatma Gandhi says, if you ask me, who am I? I am a simple man in search of God. That's what he saw himself as. Remember, it did not prevent him from fighting for freedom or from social reform or from doing the politics that he did. It didn't stop him. In fact, all of those were not distractions from spirituality. They were channels through which he expressed his spirituality. So, that higher spirituality, we should be able to say, who am I? In my heart of hearts, I am a person, no matter what you do in life, I am a person who's seeking enlightenment. So that's the primary condition for Vedanta. Vedanta starts when we become spiritual seekers. The Sanskrit words which Krishna used, artha, one in distress, artharthi, one who wants things of the world, jnani, jigyasu, the inquirer. We must at least become an inquirer. And that inquirer finally becomes an enlightened person, jnani. These are the four kinds of people who come to religion. Now, once you come to religion, in spiritual life, in Vedanta, when you come to Vedanta, the promise is that, you know, Swami Vivekananda, when he came to this country and he spoke about Vedanta, he introduced it in this way. One of the mantras from the Upanishads which he quoted often in this country, he would quote the Sanskrit, chant the Sanskrit first and then translate. Shrinvantu vishve amitasya putraha, listen ye children of immortal bliss. Aye dhamani divyani tastu. Even the gods who dwell on higher realms, you listen to, because what I'm going to tell you, even you do not know. What is that? Vedaham purusham mahantam. I have realized that infinite being. There's some infinite being, and he has realized it. Well, what's it like? Since you realized it, what's it like? You know what they're talking about? They're talking about God, Brahman, or Nirvana, whatever you call it. In different religions, the name is different. But if you have discovered it, what's it like? Adityavarnam tamasah parastat, blazing forth like the sun, not with a material light, but with the light of consciousness. Tamasah parastat, beyond all darkness, the darkness of ignorance, the darkness of suffering, darkness of human misery, beyond all darkness. Alright, suppose such a thing exists, then what good is it to realize it? What does it do for you? Why should I realize it? What will it do for me? Tameva viditva ati mrityumeti. Realizing that, one goes beyond death. Okay? Is there any other way? Right now in Silicon Valley, I read in an article, many of the top billionaires are investing a lot of money in anti-aging. They hope that in this generation or next generation they'll discover drugs and therapies which will enable them to live forever. Now, isn't there any other way? Modern medicine or, I don't know, some other way of beating death? Overcoming suffering? It says, Nanyah pantha vidyate ayadaya. There is no real solution to this problem. You may get a temporary solution. You may have medicine which will help you out of a medical crisis. You go from one crisis to another crisis. One doctor told me, Swami, now our medical knowledge is advanced enough so that you can live much longer. You can live longer, but we cannot promise that you will live well. So longer and you can suffer longer. So is there any other way? medicine or some social system, capitalism, socialism, something, or creativity, art, something which will help us to overcome suffering, which will give us permanent peace. Nanyah pantha vidyate ayanaya. A very, very categorical statement from the sage who says there is no other path. The only path is enlightenment, the only path is spirituality. Truly, again going back to where I began, we are all searching for happiness. We are all searching for peace, overcoming suffering. If we look back upon the history of humanity, there has been a class of men and women who have actually fulfilled this, who have actually, attained this. And these are the enlightened people belonging to all races, in all times of history, in all religions. Just look at that, the great spiritual masters of different religious traditions. They were happy, truly happy. They were fulfilled. They had beaten sorrow and suffering. Although in their lives there was so much suffering and sorrow, and yet they somehow transcended that. So it is possible, and they show it by their own lives that it is possible. There is such a thing. And that's what we are looking for. So when we say that we are in a higher spirituality, we have the same goal. The person who's crazy about money, the person who's crazy about power, and the person who's crazy about God has basically ultimately the same goal. True peace and happiness. But one is seeking it unwisely in the things which will not give, which have been proven not to give throughout history any kind of lasting peace and happiness. They're searching there, the mass of humanity. And this person, the spiritual seeker, is searching in the right place. In a place where it is possible. It is possible to attain peace and joy. So that's what we are trying to do. I wanted to make this difference clear. I remember I went to this Hindu temple once. I was asked to give a talk on Vedanta. So I went and I saw, first we went to the temple. Hundreds of people, it was Sunday, queues of parents and kids and grandpas and grandmas, and the priests chanting mantras and worshipping offered. I thought, I'm going to get a good crowd. And then I went to the auditorium where the talk was to be held. Nobody. And then some people trickled in, and many of them were distracted, the mobile phone. So keep that shut down here during our classes. And they were distracted. And there were very few. So that clearly shows the difference between spirituality and conventional religion. So the puja attracts people. Because this is for my grandson, or this is for my son should get a job, or this is for peace in the family, or whatever. Or at least, very least, I'll do this so that nothing bad happens. It's a thing to do. On Sunday you go to the temple and offer something in a little ritual, or you attend a little puja in the temple. That's it. There's nothing beyond that. Even if you offer it, look, come here, we're going to talk about samadhi and the ecstatic love of God and the vision of God and enlightenment. Come. No, I don't want that. I certainly don't want that. I'm having a good time. Don't bother me. So, I think it was Saint Augustine in his Confessions who said, "Oh God, give me chastity, but not just yet. Not yet. Not right now." But he shows the human condition. So this is the step that we have taken. We are looking, we are searching. The same search which Narendranath had, or which Buddha had, or which the questions which prompted Arjuna to ask the questions which gave rise to the Gita, the teachings of Krishna. The same questions, the Upanishadic questions. When the student goes and asks, the little boy Nachiketa asks Yama, the Lord of Death, what is the secret of death? Life and death, what's the secret? What's the truth? Give it to me, man. So that's what the little boy asks. In the Mundaka Upanishad, when the student goes and asks the master, what is that? The one thing by knowing which everything in the universe is known. Kasminnu bhagavo vigyate sarvamidam vigyatam bhavati iti. The one thing by knowing which everything in the universe is known. So that is the quest. It is the highest quest that humanity has, and we are blessed to have that, at least a little bit of it. say that, no, no, there's a big difference between me and Vivekananda or me and Buddha. Yes, maybe in manifestation, but the quest is the same. We are being driven by that. And once you have started this quest, let me tell you, we are not going to give it up. If we do not get enlightenment in this life, we are going to be haunted by this. There's a beautiful song by Rabindranath Tagore, which says that, "My Lord, if I do not see Thee in this life, let me be haunted by a pain in lives to come. Let a pain haunt me in my dreams, that there is something that I did not do. That if I get everything and decorate my house," the beautiful lines of it, "if I get everything, all the nice things of the world, and then I decorate my house with that, let me be haunted by this feeling that I did not invite Thee to my house. If I, out of callousness, out of laziness, sloth, if I sit down by the roadside before I complete the journey, let me be haunted by the feeling that there are all these paths to walk before me which I have not walked, and I've gone to sleep in the dust by the side of the road." A very beautiful, haunting song. So we will be, if you do not get enlightenment in this life, make it fast. Do get it. Otherwise, this is what's going to haunt us. And the reason is, this is how, at least this is the way Vedanta sees it. The universe, the game of life has been designed in such a way so that we will get enlightenment. That's the whole purpose of life. According to Vedanta, that's the whole purpose of life. If we do not get it in this life, we will get it in some life, and until we do, we'll be haunted by this feeling. Now this whole thing about enlightenment. What is it and how do you get it? It depends on how you see the question, how you see the problem. The solution always depends on how you formulate the question. If you look at the path of knowledge, you will see, they say the problem is ignorance. You are Brahman. Vedanta tells us we are what we are looking for. That ultimate reality, knowing which one becomes enlightenment and attains permanent peace, goes beyond all suffering. That reality, Brahman, we are that. I mean, you might scratch your head, maybe I am that, but I don't know it. Ah, that's the problem. You do not know it. Ignorance is the problem. So the solution always will be knowledge. Because for any ignorance, the solution is knowledge. If you say, I don't know mathematics, then enroll in a mathematics course. Get knowledge about mathematics. That's the solution to your problem. And then what will be the method? What exactly do I have to do? There is this spiritual knowledge found in the Upanishads. Acquire it. What is the method? Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. It means hearing literally, or actually a systematic study of the Vedantic knowledge that you are Brahman, that is conveyed to you by the teacher. And then thinking about it. You have got questions. When you hear this, you get questions. And you ask those questions, you think about it, you solve it yourself, ask the teacher, ask other students. You work at it till you become convinced about it. And then meditation. Meditation to assimilate it. See, at the end of the first stage, hearing, study. You know what the text says. You can study what the text says. At the end of that stage, you say, okay, I know what the book says now. One. And believe me, that's no small thing. Many people come out of Vedanta class and, how was it? Oh, great. What did he teach? Some kind of philosophy. I don't know. It's pretty difficult actually. I don't remember much of it. No, that will not do. The end of the class, you must be able to say, this is what the text said. I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm not asking you to say that you understood it. I can say that I know what the text said, but I don't understand it. Here are my problems with it. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you do that, you go to the second stage. The stage of reflection, reasoning. So at the end of the first stage, I know what the book says, but I have these problems. At the end of the second stage, you know you've completed the second stage when you can say, I know what the book says, and now I'm convinced about it. I'm getting more and more convinced about it. You have gone through the second stage. You have worked out the problems. the questions. But what's the problem now? At the end of the second stage, the problem still remains. I know what the book says, I'm convinced about it, but it's still not somehow real for me. It's still something that I've learned and it's intellectual. So when what you have read and studied and understood and you're convinced about, you deeply, meditate upon it. Vivekananda put it very powerfully. Tell yourself again and again, I am that, I am Brahman, till it tingles with every drop of your blood. Not in a kind of brainwashing. You must first study it, then understand it, be convinced about it. Then what you are convinced about, drive it deep into yourself. You will suddenly see, at the end of the third stage comes an intuitive awakening. That's the best way to put it. The Sanskrit term is Brahma Jnana, the knowledge of Brahman or realization of Brahman. Even more precise Vedantic term is Brahmakara Vritti, a modification of the mind in the form of Brahman. So that will happen, an intuitive realization of the form I am Brahman. So that's the method. Because knowledge is what you're looking for. And ignorance is the problem. You do not know that you are Brahman. But then, so this is called the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga. Jnana in Sanskrit. But along comes the yogi, the meditator, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, Raja Yoga. And the yogi says, no, ignorance is not really the problem. Ignorance is there, but it's not really the problem. The problem is the restlessness of the mind. If the mind can be calmed, and the truth will reveal itself. You will see the truth. In the depths of meditation, you will see the truth. So, restless mind is the problem. Then the solution will always be the solution will be calmness of the mind, or focus or concentration of the mind. And the method will always be meditation. You see, the approach is different. Here the approach will be, you turn up at Loon Lake and attend a series of talks on Panchadasi, and then you think about it and try to understand it and try to realize it within yourself, what you have understood. That will be the method. It may involve some meditation, but primarily it will be a process of transfer of knowledge and trying to intuitively see what the text tells you. Trying to get it. Here the method will be not so much attending classes and listening to talks. Here will be hours and hours of sitting and quietening the mind and trying to get samadhi, the deepest possible meditative absorption spoken about in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Do you see the difference between the two approaches? I met this monk in the Himalayas. I've often told this story. A young monk who was to sit and meditate in a cave. He was a yogi practicing this path. And I am a little partial to the path of knowledge. So this is the path. This is jnana. This is yoga, or Raja Yoga. All of them are yogas, of course. So this young yogi who was there, after some time I asked him that, what about Vedanta? You like yoga, meditation, very good. What about Vedanta? Don't you like Vedanta? And his answer was, हाँ ठीक है, बहुत बात करते हैं, अनुभूति नहीं है उनकी. Yeah, that Vedanta is all right, but they talk a lot. They don't have experience, spiritual experience. So from a yogi's perspective, what are these Vedantists doing? They're always reading books and giving lectures and listening to talks and arguing. How will that help? Because what's deep in his mind is that ultimately, of course, you have to stop that and sit down and meditate, isn't it? Because after all, in his mind, the problem is that the mind is restless. The more you read books and more you attend talks, the more restless your mind is becoming. How is that helping you? So that's the approach in the path of Raja Yoga. The path of Bhakti. That person comes and says, the Bhakta, the lover of God, comes and says, no, ignorance is not the problem. Even restlessness of mind is not the real problem. The real problem is that you do not believe in God, you do not love God, you do not surrender to God. God exists. You don't believe in God. You don't have faith in God. You don't want God, you want the world. And you don't surrender to God. So lack of bhakti, lack of love of God is the problem. In Sanskrit, abhakti. A means no bhakti. So the solution will be bhakti. Love of God. And the love of God can do whatever, all of these problems can be solved by the love of God. After all, if you are a lover of God, God has promised to give you this knowledge. That you want the knowledge, I am Brahman, God will give it to you. In fact, in Gita, Krishna promises many times, those whose minds are set upon me, those who surrender unto me, I shall reveal the highest truth unto them. Sri Ramakrishna says, the Divine Mother has revealed to me what the Vedas and Vedanta say. So just by loving Divine Mother as a child, he gets the enlightenment which others have to attend Panchadasi classes for. So the path of bhakti can do that. What about concentration and meditation? What's the best way to concentrate your mind? Love is the best way to concentrate your mind. A mother loves her baby. Her mind is continuously on the baby. And effortlessly so, happily so. When you love somebody or something, a job, a place, a thing, your mind is there and it goes automatically there and it goes effortlessly there. Isn't that a better way rather than sitting straight in an asana and controlling your breathing and trying all the time to bring your mind inside? What a struggle! Patanjali Yoga. The path of love is so much easier. So, this person's solution is love of God is the solution because lack of faith in God is the problem. Now you see, the way you set up, if you take Karma Yoga, same thing. Our selfishness, which ties us to this particular body-mind complex, that's the problem. Don't be concerned with this little life. Be concerned with the suffering of the universe and do everything for them. You'll be enlightened. So, how you situate the problem, the solution will be according to that. Now, what should we do? I think, when I look at myself, am I suffering from ignorance? Ignorance of what? We all have lots of ignorance about many different things. But here only one ignorance is meant. About who am I? Because Vedanta promises that I am Brahman, and I don't seem to know that. So I am clearly ignorant about that. So do I have ignorance? Do I suffer from ignorance? Yes. Is my mind restless? I don't know about you, but mine is, yes. And do I possess really deep surrender and love of God? No. So all of these, I have to check, yes. All of these problems are mine. So all of the solutions also will work for me. Swami Vivekananda recommended all of them. By philosophy, by the path of knowledge, by meditation, by love and worship, and by unselfishness, by jnana, by dhyana, by bhakti, by karma yoga, the 4 yogas. By one or more and all of these, you be free. Practice these and be free. That is the whole of religion. Books, temples, doctrines, churches are secondary details. The whole thing is to get enlightenment by any one of these methods, or more than one method, or all the methods. Okay. But for the purposes of this retreat, we are going to take up one approach. I was just giving you the big picture. So this approach is this one, the path of knowledge. Jnana, the path of knowledge. So Vedanta, when I speak about Vedanta, you can use Vedanta in a wider perspective of covering all of this. But we are going to speak about Advaita Vedanta, the system of non-dual Vedanta, which is preeminently a path of knowledge. And so that's what we're going to take up in the next few days. So what is this Advaita Vedanta? Advaita Vedanta holds that we are, each of us, we are already Brahman, that which we seek, the enlightenment which we seek about, that Brahman, we are already that. It's not something that has to be attained. It's not a place that you have to go to. It's not separated. Enlightenment is not separated from you by time. It's not that after death I will be enlightened or after death I will go to heaven. It's not separated from you by place. That I am in Loon Lake now, and after dying or something, I will go to a place called heaven, and there I'll be, everything will be perfect. No. We are not separated from enlightenment by space. We are not separated from enlightenment by time. It's right here, nowhere else. Where is Brahman? Where is enlightenment? Right here. When is Brahman? When is enlightenment? Not after death. Not after so many lives. It's right now. That which is right here and right now. A problem comes there for the Vedanta. If Brahman, if that reality which we are looking for, if it is right now, here and now, then I can ask the question, why don't I experience it? You see, if I tell you, God is in heaven, then I have an answer to the question. If you ask why can't I see God, I'll say to you that, look, God is in heaven. You can't see God because God is not here. God is in heaven. So that's why you can't see God. Or if you are separated by time, I'll tell you that, no, God, you cannot see God now. It's only when you die and go to heaven, then you will see God. Not now, but then. Not here, but there. And I'm safe, you can't catch me. And after death, if you do not find God, you still can't catch me, because I'll be long gone by that time. It seems that on Wall Street, which is our neighbor there in Manhattan, this economic crash which was caused, I was reading in Time magazine, that those people who played the stock market and fixed it and finally led to this disastrous thing, which has happened again and again. So, the Hindus believe in cyclical creation, existence and destruction of the universe, and Wall Street believes in a very cyclical kind of creation, existence and destruction cycles. So it seems that they had a philosophy. These players on the stock market, they had a philosophy. They used to call it YBG IBG. YBG IBG. Don't write it down, not worth writing down. It's the worst kind of philosophy. What was the philosophy? It stands for, you will be gone, I will be gone. So let's do this now. When the disaster strikes, 5 years down the road, I'll be gone. I would have made my millions, you would have made your millions, and we are out of it. And let the others suffer. Let the whole economy of the world suffer. But we are out of it. So, if you don't find God at that time, you can't catch me. But in Vedanta, I am saying that the spiritual reality, Brahman, is right now and right here. Then you have a legitimate question. If it is right now and right here, why cannot I see it? Why cannot I experience it? You can ask that. And so, what's the problem? The problem is why we do not seem to experience it, we do not seem to see it, is because of ignorance. It's here, we are missing it. It's right now, we are missing it. Right here and right now, we are missing it. And what Vedanta tries to do is point out the obvious. One of the talks that Swami Vivekananda gave in this country was called The Open Secret. It's a secret. In fact, one of the meanings of Upanishad is the secret knowledge, Rahasya Vidya. But it's also an open secret. It's right here. We just need the eyes to see it. Now, it's not physical eyes. It's the eye of knowledge. And that eye of knowledge is given by Vedanta. So, what we are trying to do in Vedanta is this knowledge which is contained in the Upanishads. Vedanta is the knowledge contained in the Upanishads. These are the final teachings of the Vedas, the most ancient scriptures of humanity, the core scriptures of Hinduism, dating back who knows when, even conservatively now dated to 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. And the Upanishads are the final teachings of the Vedas. In the Upanishad you find this teaching that you are Brahman. About the Upanishads, Schopenhauer said that I consider the study of these Upanishads to be the most beneficial of all study in the world. It has been the solace of my life. Arthur Schopenhauer, the great German philosopher, it has been the solace of my life, and it will be the solace of my death. Here, in fact, recently I was reading this book, Waking, Dreaming, Being, by Evan Thompson, who is a professor of philosophy in the University of British Columbia, right here. He's written this book, Waking, Dreaming and Being. And he starts with a quote from another philosopher, where he says in that book that the Upanishads are so important in human history that we should actually date our history not with AD and BC, but with before Upanishads and after Upanishads. And he starts with that quote. Nowadays we are speaking so much about consciousness studies. That book is about consciousness studies. And he starts that book by saying, consciousness studies did not start 25 years ago. It started 5,000 years ago with the Upanishads. Okay. So what do these Upanishads tell us? And it can be told very briefly. What the Upanishads teach us can be told in one sentence. And the sentence is this: that thou art, Tattvamasi. This is the highest teaching of the Upanishad, the final teaching, the essential teaching of the Upanishad is Tattvamasi. That thou art. That meaning Brahman, the ultimate reality. Thou meaning the Atman, you. Art is Tattvamasi. Brahman, the Atman is Brahman. You are Brahman. In fact, these sentences are called Mahavakya, the great statements. And you find 4 of them, one from each of the Vedas. This is from the Chandogya Upanishad of the Sama Veda. But there is one more from Vidyaranya Upanishad of the Yajur Veda, which says, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. I am Brahman. There is another one from the Rig Veda, the Aitariya Upanishad, which says Prajnanam Brahma. This very consciousness is Brahman. This awareness which you feel right now, that awareness, this awareness is Brahman. And from the Atharvana Veda in the Mandukya Upanishad you find I am Atma Brahma. This very self, as if you are pointing to yourself, this very self is Brahman. As you can see, that thou art, I am Brahman, this awareness is Brahman, this self is Brahman, it all means the same thing. It all means the same thing, that you are Brahman. Which means that you are not what you think you are, and there is something called Brahman, and you are that Brahman. So this is the whole teaching of the Upanishads. What you want, if you want to take anything away from Vedanta, it is this. I remember Central Park is very close to our center in Manhattan. So I go for walks there, and there's a place where strawberry fields and the Beatles and John Lennon, and even now there are people who are singing Imagine or the best Beatles hits, or My Sweet Lord and things like that. And you will find a few hippies still there. They are aging. They are the last of the hippies. They're still there. So once I was walking down and one of them was sitting there with his beads and long hair and everything, and he looks at me, thinning long hair. And he looks at me and he says, and he goes, "Hey, you look like the real thing." I said, "Oh, I certainly hope I am." And then he said, "If you could tell me one thing, what would it be?" And I said, "That thou art, you are that." And I didn't explain what that is. He seemed to be satisfied. He nodded, right on. This is the essential teaching. So any Vedantic text you read, non-dualistic Vedanta text, including the one which we are going to study from tomorrow onwards, the teaching will be this: you are Brahman, I am Brahman, that thou art, this awareness is Brahman, this very self is Brahman. So that's the teaching. Now, this is given in the Upanishads. Of all, there are many Upanishads. You have a list of at least 108 authentic Upanishads, and there are many more. But 10, arguably 11 of these Upanishads are regarded as being core texts of Vedanta, because Shankaracharya, 1400 years ago, chose these Upanishads to write his commentaries. And the Upanishads are in old Vedic Sanskrit, and Shankaracharya's commentaries are in more modern classical Sanskrit. So he wrote commentaries on 10, maybe 11 Upanishads. And that becomes the fundamental, the root texts of Advaita Vedanta. So the Upanishads with Shankaracharya's commentary. Now another important text in Vedanta is the Bhagavad Gita, and that is most well known of all the Hindu texts. And yet the Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the original. It's basically the truths of the Upanishads, spoken by Krishna in response to the questions of Arjuna. The verse goes that the Upanishads are cows and Krishna is the milkman, and the milk of the cows is the Gita, and Arjuna is the calf which drinks that milk. So that's the analogy that's given. So meaning therefore, the Gita is nothing but the essence of the Upanishads. To help a new student, they will teach you whatever the Upanishads are teaching, but in an easier way, in a more modern way, which appeals to us maybe. So those texts were written for centuries, for more than 1,000 years after Shankara. Many masters came and wrote those texts. Those are called introductory texts or prakaranas. There were other texts too. Some of those other texts were dialectical. That means arguments directed against other systems of thought, dualistic systems, against other systems which attacked non-dualism. So they were dialectical texts. Their purpose was not to teach Vedanta but to defend Vedanta, and they were very subtle, very intricate. But the text that we are going to study belongs to the first category, an introductory text, but a little more advanced, not absolutely primary. This book was written about 700 years ago by Vidyaranya Swami. So you can see I'm starting from the spiritual quest and I've worked my way down to the book which you are holding in your hands. So this book called Panchadasi was written by Vidyaranya Swami, who lived in the south of India in a state called Karnataka today. This Vidyaranya Swami was one of the Shankaracharyas, a successor of Adi Shankaracharya, and he wrote many books. Interestingly and coincidentally, the retreat that we did last time on Drigdrishya Viveka, that book also is attributed to Vidyaranya Swami, the same author. So we are reading the work of the same author, but this is a more advanced book. This book is called Panchadasi. Vidyaranya Swami himself was a very, very interesting character. He was a saint, a philosopher, a great pandit of course, and he became a Shankaracharya, a monk. But he also was a politician. He helped to found the last of the major Hindu kingdoms. Because of the Muslim invasions, most of the Hindu kingdoms had been taken over by the Muslim invaders, and so Vidyaranya helped to found what is called the Vijayanagar kingdom, maybe one of the last major Hindu kingdoms, about 700 years ago. And he did it successfully, and it lasted for a few hundred years until that too also was finally destroyed. So he was into politics big time. He was the head of the pontiff of the Sringeri Mata, the monastery. He was a philosopher, he was a saint, and so on. And he's written many, many books. Among them, of course, the most famous arguably is this Panchadasi. The title Panchadasi literally means 15 chaptered. There are 15 chapters. Panchadasi, book with 15 chapters. What are these 15 chapters? They're all chapters on Vedanta. Each of them independently teaches us, introduces us to Vedanta. And independently and differently. That's the beauty of the book. You get 15 different approaches to the same teaching. And the teaching you already know. You are Brahman. That's all. There's nothing more than this. So you are Brahman. That teaching will be given to us in 15 different chapters. Each chapter complete in itself. In fact, the book that we studied last time, Drigdrishya Viveka, that's like one chapter of this book. In fact, it's less than one chapter of this book. This book is a little more advanced than that. So there are many such introductory texts. Vedanta Sara, Drigdrishya Viveka, Atma Bodha, then there is Aparoksha Anubhuti, Vedanta Paribhasha, Panchadashi, this book, and there are other books also. So this book has 15 introductory chapters on Advaita Vedanta, and out of which we are going to do one, the first one. That's our syllabus for the next 3 days. You say, one only, what about the rest? So we are missing out a lot. Actually, you are not. What you are going to learn in the first one is exactly what he is going to teach in the second, and the third, and the fourth. Briefly, the 15 chapters can be divided into three sets of 5 each. The first 5, second 5, and the third 5. Chapters 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15. And they are called, the first 5 are called Viveka Panchakam. Viveka means philosophical analysis. So you're trying to find out the reality through philosophical analysis. The second 5 are called Deepa Panchakam, the 5 concerning the lamp. Deepa means lamp. Basically those 5 are supposed to be about pure consciousness, Brahman as pure consciousness. The third 5 are called Ananda Panchakam. That means the 5 concerned with bliss. Brahman as bliss. Ananda, Sat, Chit, Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. So are the first 5 about existence, and the second 5 about consciousness, and the third 5 about bliss. There is a claim, but it's not really true, because in each of these chapters you will find various approaches. In the first chapter itself you will find approaches to Brahman as pure existence, pure consciousness, and pure bliss. Okay, having said that, how are we going to study? The 3 steps in Vedantic study, as I mentioned, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, which means systematic study, hearing it. At that stage, your question should be uppermost in our minds. The question should be, what did he just say? What did the text just say? Can I repeat back? In the traditional systems, you're supposed to memorize everything. So I'm not going to ask you to do that. We'll empty the hall pretty fast if I ask you to memorize 700-year-old Sanskrit. But what I'm going to ask each of us is that we should be able to say, at least in our own words, the gist of what we are hearing. So that's the first stage. What was said. The second stage is one step forward from there, is do I get it? Do I understand it? This is what was said, and now do I get it? And in between there will be questions. And then the third stage will be, is it real? It's like, here is a book in my hand. Now, if I ask you, what did he say? You'll say, yeah, you said there is a book in your hand. Stage 1, you know what I said. Stage 2 will be, do you get it? You say, yeah, I get it. There's a book in your hand. And stage 3 will be, is it true? Is it something theoretical? Is it something intellectual? Is it a fact? Fact, yeah, it's a fact. So, the third stage will be, is it a fact? Is it real for me? As real as I'm showing you a book in the hand. Is it real for me that I am the witness of the body-mind? That I am an unchanging consciousness, awareness? Is it real? Before that, do I get it? Before that, what did he say? What is the text? What did he say? Second is, what are my questions? Do I get it? Is it clear? Once it's clear, is it real? Third stage is, of course, the stage of enlightenment. If some do reach it, well and good. But at least the first stage is compulsory for everybody. At the end of the retreat, we should have a general idea of what was said. And the second stage is what I'm hoping for. That as many of us as possible should be, yeah, I get it what he said. And I'll work towards making it real for me, a fact for me. The interesting thing is, when Vedanta says you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are the consciousness, the awareness in which the body and mind appear. They are insisting it's a fact, as much as this pen in my hand is a fact, as much as that you have a body, you experience a body. Is it fact or theory? You don't seem to be very confident. I experience a body appears to me, I see it, I touch it, unfortunately sometimes I may even smell it. So, is it a fact? Yes. A mind appears to me when I look inside. Thoughts, ideas, feelings, desires, memories. Does it come to me? Yes. Does it come to you? Fact?
Yes.
Just like you said confidently without any doubt, here is a body, here is a mind, yeah, I feel it, it's a fact. Vedanta insists that this Brahman, existence, consciousness, bliss, is as much a fact right now. You just have to see it. You don't have to make it a fact. You don't have to become Brahman. You are that. All you need to do is to disentangle yourself from the idea that, from the foolishness that you are body-mind. From this notion that you are body-mind. Not denying that a body appears to you, not denying that a mind appears to you, but appears to you what? To what does the body appear? To what does the mind appear? That's what we'll investigate, and we'll try to see that. So those will be the 3 stages in our study. What did he say? Do I get it? Is it real? Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. This transmission of knowledge is the essence of Vedanta. Alright, a little bit of caution here. I'll end with a warning note. I won't end now, there's 1 or 2 things I need to do before I end. Warning note is this. As we study this and as we begin to get it, 2 things are very appealing in this path. One is, you begin to see that actually you don't have to do anything. It's already done, it's already accomplished. You just have to see it for what it is. So that's very tempting. Here is a path. Every other path says you have to put in intense effort life after life. You have to do enormous amounts of good. I mean, more than all of Red Cross has ever done. You have to do enormous amounts of unselfish good to the people of the world. You have to believe in God or love God or surrender to God. You have to meditate hours and hours and hours and days till your knees ache and you're bored out of your mind. And all this practice has to be done before you have any chance of getting any kind of illumination. And here it says enlightenment is available to you without doing anything. First, very attractive. And the second thing which is very attractive is, all others say that it takes time. You have to wait. This one says it takes no time at all. It can happen in an instant. It can happen in this very class. It can happen. And it's not a false promise. Actually, it has happened. Such things do happen. When it happens in an instant. Now, because of this, many people are attracted to it. Once you begin to get it, you begin to see that, and these are not wrong claims, these are true. But the mistake, the problem is, you get a feeling that this is the real thing. I've had people tell me in the high Himalayas, this is the real thing. Why didn't my guru tell me about this earlier? He was holding the Ashtavakra Gita and reading it. My guru spends his time watering a tulsi plant. The tulsi plant is particularly dear to the Hindus. Why didn't he tell me? And I told that person, has your guru read the Ashtavakra Gita? He said, I suppose so. So after having read it and understood it, he's been watering the tulsi plant and praying to God and fasting and doing all kinds of spiritual practices. Yeah. So spiritual practices should not be abandoned on any account. I suddenly begin to get non-dual Vedanta. Oh, then why was I repeating that little mantra? Forget it. Disaster. You're asking for disaster. All spiritual practice, moral life has to be maintained strictly. Spiritual practices have to be continued. Whatever you are doing, or if you're not doing, you should be doing. Spiritual practices have to be continued. Okay, this is one thing. The second thing is, so the first thing is, do not think that you can stop spiritual practices. I have found something better than meditating or praying or doing good to others. No, all those are very useful in Vedanta. The second thing is, it's very powerful, it's very direct. If there is any direct way to enlightenment, this is it. I'll repeat it. This is it, this is it. From a Vedantic perspective, all our temples and worship is ultimately meant for this getting it. All our meditation is ultimately meant for this. This is not meant for meditation. This is not meant for worship or anything like that. All other spiritual practices build up to this enlightenment. I am Brahman. Everything is meant for bringing you here. So, this is the highest, if you can call it a spiritual practice at all, it might not feel like it. Where we are sitting here, listening, going to talk about Panchadasi and study that, is the highest spiritual practice that the most ancient spiritual tradition of the world holds. Advaita Vedanta. I am not making it up here. Advaita Vedanta, if you go to the Himalayas and study there with the monks there, they will tell you exactly what I am telling you. Coming to this point, trying to understand this, is the final spiritual practice. Everything else that you have done in life has brought you to this point. This is not meant for any other practice. All practices are meant for this. Now this leads people to have a kind of non-dualistic superiority complex. I know the truth now, and you guys who are praying or going to church or temple, you're way down there, you know, like, it's good, but it's kindergarten. And you yogis who are trying to meditate, well, you know, there are texts which in non-dual Vedanta which say that yes, in this book also, your only bondage is that you're trying to attain samadhi. That you're trying to meditate is your only bondage. This is the only foolishness that you have. So things like that. So that leads to a sense of superiority. Until we attain enlightenment, there is no reason to feel superior to anybody. It's a trick of the mind. So know that all are walking the spiritual path. Know this. Keep this knowledge. And then let's take a look at our lives. Honesty about our own lives is of the greatest value. I should know where I am. Is it really Vedanta which is my main problem, or is it just my mind is restless? If my mind is restless, meditation is the right thing to do right now. Am I too involved with my own life, my own little problems? Then unselfish work is the real solution that will work. Where does the shoe pinch? Let's find it out for ourselves. We don't have to tell anybody. Let's find it out for ourselves and practice that. So there's no need to have a superiority complex. You know, you go around with the nose up in the air. What else? What did I want to tell you? Okay. I'll just start the first 2 verses, and then we will go on to the first talk tomorrow. The first 2 verses are invocatory. The tradition in Vedanta, in all these books, is that you start with a salutation to God and to your Guru. Then you go on to what you want to speak about. So the first 2 verses, I'll just chant, and if you like, you can chant after me, and I'll tell you the meaning. There's not much to be said there. I mean, one could go on and on. By the way, there are different translations available. The one which we are using is the English translation by Swami Sarvapriyananda, but other translations are there. Different Indian languages. And the tradition in Vedanta or in other Indian philosophies is, there is a text and there will be a commentary on the text. And there will be a sub-commentary on the commentary. And there is sub-commentary on the sub-commentary. And so on. So this is the text, Panchadasi, written by Vidyaranya 700 years ago. And there is actually a Sanskrit commentary on it, very nice commentary. This is the one, which it's a pocket version of the Panchadasi used by monks in the Himalayas. So I wonder why, because they don't have pockets. Anyway, here is the book. It's all in Sanskrit. It's the original Panchadasi and the Sanskrit commentary. And it's such a nice coincidence that the Sanskrit commentary was written by a scholar called, wait for it, Ramakrishna. Oh. So it's called the Ramakrishna commentary on Panchadasi. That also brings me to an interesting thing which our Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna said. He didn't like this book. I mean, he had nothing against the book. He didn't like the people who read this book. He said, these people, they read the Panchadasi and trouble me no end. Because they'll come and if I say something, he says, you are saying that, but the Panchadasi says this, you know. What do you say to that? So he asked, this is a funny place where he asks somebody, have you read the Panchadasi? And the young man said, who is he? And Ramakrishna says, thank God. They'll read the Panchadasi and come and trouble me no end. But this does not mean he's criticizing the Panchadasi. He's not against the Panchadasi. Clearly, there's one place in Swami Turiyananda's letter, it's there. He praises the Panchadasi, he praises it highly. This is one of the best books on non-dual Vedanta is Panchadasi. You should really read it. And many of the, Swami Vivekananda, his first talk in the West was on the Panchadasi, philosophy of Panchadasi, and so on. So, powerful text. And we're going to start it. We just start the invocatory verses and stop there. verses 1 and 2. Namah Shri Shankarananda. If you want to repeat. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa Mahamoha Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasaika Karmane Graha Grasaika Karmane. Namah Shri Shankarananda. Shankarananda was the Guru of Vidyaranya. So he says, I salute my Guru Shri Shankarananda. Shri is an honorific. So I salute my Guru Shankarananda. The deeper meaning of that is, Shankara means Shiva. Shiva is Brahman, the ultimate reality. So Shankara means that. Ananda there means bliss. He will show how our inner self is pure bliss. So Ananda in the word Shankarananda, the word Ananda, bliss, means you, your inner reality. So Shankarananda means that thou art, you are that. So there's a deeper meaning to there, that it speaks about the essential teaching of Vedanta. You are Brahman. So Namah Shri Shankarananda, Guru Padam Bhujanmane, the lotus feet of my Guru. That's a stylistic use of words. You know, always you bow down to the feet of your Guru. Some people ask, why the feet? But that was the tradition in ancient cultures, even in, say, in medieval Christianity. Or in the Bible you find at the feet of the Lord. So, I bow down to the lotus feet of the Guru. What does that do? It destroys the shark of ignorance. Problem, remember? Look at how they're constructing the problem. It destroys the shark of ignorance. Rather, it's the other way around. It's a shark which destroys ignorance. It eats up ignorance. Graha grasaika karmani. What do the lotus feet of my Guru do? They eat up the shark of ignorance. Let's put it this way. They eat up the shark of ignorance. What does the shark of ignorance do? It creates the samsara, our entire world of suffering, of samsara. So what is the source? Ignorance. And what is the effect? It says savilasa, with effect. What is the effect of ignorance? Samsara. This life which I am suffering from. So all the suffering that I have is due to one cause only, ignorance. And that ignorance will be destroyed by the grace of the lotus feet of my Guru. That is the meaning of the first verse. And then next one. Tat padam buruhat dvandva, tat padam buruhat dvandva, seva nirmala chetasam, seva nirmala chetasam, sukha bodhaya tattvasya, sukha bodhaya tattvasya, vivekoyam vidhiyate, vivekoyam vidhiyate. First he starts off by saying, those who are devoted to the lotus feet of the Guru, they get the qualifications for Vedanta. Remember, every Vedanta text starts with the fourfold qualifications. And he hasn't mentioned them, he just indicates them. That one has to be qualified for Vedanta. What are the fourfold qualifications? Just so that we know. And before beginning any Vedantic study, we must keep our eyes on. Like you're studying, when you're driving, you know, you keep your eyes on the gas and the speed and all that. You keep your eyes on these fourfold qualifications. One is Viveka, discrimination between the real and the unreal. Basically, a kind of instinctive understanding that there is something to this religion business. That there is some Brahman, enlightenment, something possible, nirvana, moksha, whatever. Whatever way you imagine it, your inner feeling is it's there. I'm not there yet, but I'm convinced it's there. If you have that conviction, you have Viveka. The second one is difficult, Vairagya. That ultimate reality, that enlightenment which I'm looking for, that Brahman, that's my goal, everything else does not matter. Everything else is secondary. My purpose of life is enlightenment. Remember how we started? We are spiritual seekers and our purpose in life is enlightenment. Not God for samsara, but my life for God. Not God as a convenience for my life, but my life is for God. So Vairagya means complete dispassion for all other goals. What's the goal of your life? Pleasure? Money? Power? No. I have tasted some of that. Doesn't work for me. You still may have. When Vidyaranya was a chief minister or something, he had power. He was the author, he had power. Even as the pontiff of Sringeri Math, he had power. He had learning. He had fame. And so you can be in the midst of that. But those are not your goal anymore. You're not looking there for satisfaction anymore. That's all. So Vairagya, a dispassion for all other goals in life. Because you know that they will not give you peace. And the third one is discipline. The sixfold discipline. What is the sixfold discipline? Don't get confused. 4 qualifications, the third one of which is a set of 6. Alright? So don't get confused. First, Viveka. Second, Vairagya. Third one is a sixfold discipline. What are the sixfold discipline? Very quickly. Shama. Quietness of the mind. Calmness of the mind. Focus. Pay attention. That's Shama. Let not the mind be scattered anywhere else. Dhamma. Control of the sense organs. Motor organs. Your feet should not take you away from the Vedanta class. Your ears should not be listening with, and sitting in the Vedanta class but earphone. Listening to something else. No. So eyes should not be looking out of the... We do it in class sometimes as kids in school. The class is going on, it's boring and we're looking out of the windows. So more interesting things in life outside. No. All the sense organs, motor organs should be under our control so that it's on the same path towards Vedantic study and enlightenment. So control of organs. Dhamma. Titiksha. A spiritual fortitude. I'll put up with the troubles that the world throws at me. Toughness. It may be too hot or too cold, I may not be feeling all that good, or I may have financial problems, health problems, relationship problems, whatever. The world will continuously throw problems. How many sacrifices, how much toughness you had to maintain for your career, how much toughness you had to maintain for your family. So, usually spiritual practices get the what is it called? Short shrift? Short shrift.
Sure.
Yes. I'm not feeling too good, headache. Oh, I won't meditate today, don't feel like it. Or I won't study today. You never did say that, I won't turn up for my work today. Pretty soon you'll be out of a job if you did that. So we were so tough. We had to put up with a lot of trouble for career or family or our obligations. Similar toughness for our Vedantic pursuit. Titiksha, which means toughness, spiritual fortitude, forbearance. Then Uparati, pulling back the mind, our whole lifestyle, stepping back from messing around with life, enjoying different things in life. So you say, I'm going to be boring? No, you're clearing the deck for action. If you have many things, your to-do list is full, it gives you no time and energy for Vedanta. No, you have to clear that.
Withdrawing.
Withdrawing. Uparati literally means withdrawing, stepping back. Rati, enjoying things in the world. Uparati, reversing it. Having reversed, samadhana. The next one is samadhana. Focus on Vedanta. Samadhana. You've cleared the text, you've got time and energy now. Now what do you do with it? Come to Loon Lake. Come to Loon Lake and attend the retreat. Yes. Focus on Vedanta. Samadhana. Concentration. Don't let it flow back into the world again. And then Shraddha, a faith. That what this book tells me, what the teacher tells me, it's true. Let me take it as a working hypothesis. I don't know it yet. I'm not there yet. But Let me not cut it down right now. Let me just keep it, okay, this is what they're saying. Let me see if I can get it. It's not blind belief. It's not even the belief or faith which religions ask for. It's just the faith which a professor in a class might ask for. When you enroll for a class in economics or physics, you don't go straight away go and say the book is nonsense, the professor is lying. Then you'll never learn anything. You just go in and say that, yeah, the book is correct. I don't get it yet, let me work at it. What the professor said is, I'm sure it's right, he's right, but let me just take notes and think about it, try to get it. So that much faith, Shraddha, in the scriptures, I mean in the text and in the teacher. So those are the sixfold discipline. Shama, Dhamma, Titiksha, Uparati, Samadhana and Shraddha. So that's the sixfold discipline. That's the third one in the fourfold qualifications. And then the last one is Mumukshutvam, an intense desire to be free. I don't have an intense desire to tell you the truth, Swami. I have a little bit of desire to be free. I mean, it would be nice to be enlightened, but not all that intense. Don't worry. As you intensify the first three, the desire to be free will, that fire will be stoked, it will become stronger and stronger. It increases over time. It's like an appetite. Alright. Those are the qualifications he's indicating here. Those whose minds are purified by service to the Guru. It basically means person who has got these qualifications. For their easy enlightenment, Sukha Bodhaya Tattvasya. For ease of enlightenment. Because the Upanishads are difficult, the Gita and the Brahma Sutras are vast, and the commentaries of Shankara are difficult. So for easy enlightenment of such people, Vivekayam, this analysis, Viveka is philosophical analysis. This really means separating the truth from the falsehood. It's a process which you undertake. This is now being done. That's what's going to be done in the 15 chapters. So that's how he starts the book. So we have started the book. I wanted to at least touch beginning of the book today. I know I've run over time, half an hour over time, but on purpose. I did that on purpose today. Tomorrow onwards we'll stick with the time. But I wanted to give a complete introduction. Quick. Any immediate reactions or questions? Yes.
The year, I think it was 2010, Nalini and myself, we attended a grand celebration at the land of Vidyaranya Swami and Krishnadevaraya,
yes.
Vivekananda. It was declared as World Heritage Site.
Yes. The Vidyaranya kingdom, which was founded by Vidyaranya Swami, he encouraged Harihar and Bukka, two brothers, to found it. And the greatest king of that dynasty was Krishnadevaraya. When we grew up, we read comics. In India, we had those little comic books, Amar Chitrakatha for children. So I remember reading about Krishnadevaraya was the great.
Archaeologists are finding new today.
Right. He comes from that place. That's why he's saying. Yeah. But now it's. I mean, there are magnificent ruins there. If you go, you can actually see them. Yes. Any other? Yeah, there's a question there.
So, Swami, would it be correct? We read the Upanishads and it says these things.
Yes.
So this book is trying to prove those things.
Prove it.
Or
it will tell us what the Upanishad says, and then it will lead us in understanding so that we get it what it says. We get it intellectually, and then the third step is it becomes real for us. That step also has to be taken. Yeah. So this book is a more detailed presentation of the insights of the Upanishadic sage. If you go to the Upanishads, first of all, it's archaic Vedic Sanskrit language. It's also Sanskrit, but that's much older. That's 4,000, 5,000 years old. Second, it's poetic. There's not much attempt at philosophy or trying to answer questions. Those are just insights being thrown out by the rishis who realize those things. But we have questions. We would like to understand. What does it mean to say that I am not the body? What does it mean to say I am pure consciousness? Explain it to me. What is pure consciousness? What is Brahman? If we have such questions, and we do, then you come to such books. Okay, I'll come to you. Yes.
Swami, sorry,
You.
You said 15 chapters of this book. They sort of say the same thing.
Yes.
So why? I'm just curious. Why did you pick chapter 1?
Well, because it's the first chapter, but it's also a very, very powerful chapter. In fact, tomorrow you will see the power of this chapter. The first talk tomorrow is probably the most important talk in the whole series this time. And what he's going to do tomorrow is from verse number 3 to 10, in just 8 verses, the whole of Advaita Vedanta, that you are Brahman, infinite existence, infinite consciousness, infinite bliss. He is going to show you that you are that on the basis of experience and reason. What experience? Your daily experience. Nothing beyond your experience. And on just reason. He's not going to quote from the Upanishads. He's just going to take us step by step and show you that you are Brahman. If you follow and you understand it, then you will see, my God, how did I never see this? What an incredible claim. At the end of it, we may not even want to believe it, but the power of that process is undeniable. And we'll definitely end up being a little shaken at the end of it. So, the first chapter is really powerful. And also it's the first chapter. Alright then. There's a question. We'll end with that.
Maharaj, at the beginning of your discourse this evening, you had mentioned about conventional religion and spirituality.
Yes.
And then you had mentioned several times about that we ask for the word. And that's
Word.
The word.
Word.
So, do you add more clarification to
Yes.
what you mean by
When we
word?
go to God in the temple, what do just say most people, not the people here, because we are here because we have questions about spiritual life. Otherwise, why would you come here? I'm not promising that after this series you'll win the lottery or your health will improve substantially or I'm not promising any worldly improvement. Then why come here? We are spiritual seekers. But most people who go to a temple or a church or any kind of religious institution on a regular basis, what are they seeking for? If you see what they are seeking for, they are seeking that the life they are leading, let it be a little better. Let God's blessings be on me. You'll say, is that so bad? No, it's not bad. But what are they asking God for? They are asking God for the word, health, money, prosperity, better relations. The children should listen to me. Things like that. So that's what you're asking for. And that's basically all of that is the word. You're asking for samsara. Samsara is always a package deal. It will bring you happiness and it will bring you sorrow also. And there is no end to it. Till now there has been no end to it. If you ask for more samsara, no end to it. Vivekananda says in one place, never ask for anything because, wait for it, never ask for anything because you will get it. And as we go more into Vedanta, we will realize how much of a terrible thing that is. It just prolongs this game. Going to heaven is not the goal. Heaven is a better version of this life. The Hindu idea is cycles. We have gone to heaven many times. When Vivekananda came to this country, he shocked many people when he said, I have not come here to teach you how to go to heaven. I have come here to teach you how to stop going to heaven. Or earth, or hell for that matter, of course. Stop this cycle. Yeah. So thank you very much. I pray to Sri Ramakrishna, to the Holy Mother, to Swami Vivekananda, to the omnipresent divine everywhere, the Spirit right here, that may these studies that we will undertake over the next few days, may our prayers, may our meditations, may our aspirations reach the divine, and may it return to us in the form of blessings, in the form of grace. May it help us towards our enlightenment. May it be for the welfare of all sentient beings all over the universe. With this prayer we are undertaking this journey. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram